evening, everyone. Welcome to another show of Speedcars Down Under. Tonight, Paul Charlesworth can't join us again. He's been in on work commitments again, so unfortunately Paul can't join us. But we've got a very special guest tonight from South Australia. It's wingless sprint driver and speedcar driver, team owner, commentator, you name it, he does it. Mr. Brett Island. Welcome, Brett.
Hey, mate.
How are you, mate?
Yeah, getting there. Not too bad.
That's the way. First, did you watch Bathurst yesterday?
I managed to catch most of the first half of it, and then I was actually flying back from Sydney, so I missed the last dance, which is always the most exciting bit of the race, and missed all the stuff that went on then. So
no, the last half of the race was quite impressive. Compared to last year's race, which was as boring as you know what. This year's race was quite a good race, and hats off to all them drivers up there driving in the wet conditions like they were. It was just crazy to watch.
Unfortunately, I think the weather is better than anything that makes the supercars actually interesting these days when it happens. So it's been a bit mundane the last few years, unfortunately.
Yeah, it definitely has been. But hopefully they can improve the division a bit better. But they're trying their hardest, but it doesn't seem to be working. I don't think. That's just my personal opinion. I'm just old school. But yeah. So tell us your story, Brett. Where did it all begin for you?
So my dad was pretty heavily involved with the Formula 500s back in when I was born, basically. So he crewed for Brian Golding, Ken Bowie, Ben Williamson, quite a few of the local guys. So I grew up cruising around and getting dragged to tracks and getting to spend most of the time in the pits as a kid back in the day, so between Speedway City and Murray Bridge, and used to do quite a few interstate trips as well with Dad and the guys when they go away. So sort of got to know a lot of the guys that are still racing today, and it's now second, third generation since I met that are still racing. So it's good to always have those guys, and I probably grew up sort of always leaning towards going into 500s, and sort of about the time I was able to afford to start racing, sort of missed the boat with probably the price of the 500 division, and sort of escalated really badly. We're talking RG sort of era, and wingless sort of popped up, and it seemed to be good bang for your buck and good competitive numbers, so we jumped into that. And, from there, was lucky enough to get offered a drive for Allison and Harry in the hardwire car in the 35, and a little Fontana back in the day. Did a season and a bit in their car. We unfortunately lost the motor after the first season, so I purchased an S-Linger from Brendan Palmer, and put that into the car, and then actually ended up buying the car as well from there. So.
Yeah, righto. So what are we basing around now? We've still got both cars, I gather.
Yeah, I've still got the speed car obviously behind me. Pretty much a brand new car. Unfortunately, the motor, we put it together and we were giving a shakedown at Warrnambool, I think it was about New Year's, a couple of years ago, and unfortunately melted the motor down. We managed to lock a nozzle and just melted the piston completely and hurt the motor pretty badly. So, unfortunately that's gone by the wayside for now. So just basically concentrating on wingless, and even in that, the last year or two, sort of the personal life stuff going on was taking a little bit of a backward step. So I am supposed to be driving again this Saturday night in the wingless for someone else. So just trying to keep my feet wet, and obviously laps is the biggest thing in any racing division. So.
Well, keeping your feet wet, you've done the commentary at the Australian title last year at the Speedcars. What was that like, mate?
Yeah, good. I actually really enjoyed it. There was another one of those just things that popped up. Sort of, we did the wingless title a couple of weeks beforehand. I just sort of sent Wade a message and said, if you need to handle anything, just like organising stuff was what I was expecting for the wingless title, and rocked up to the title, and my name was on the commentary sheet, so I was like thrown in there, and I actually really, really enjoyed it. It was one of those things. Got to actually see all the racing for a change rather than doing bits and pieces and spending half the night under someone's race car and missing what was going on. So just able to give a little bit more perspective with some of the stuff on the infield where I was out there with Connor, and it was actually pretty cool to do it with Liam and Connor and Wade, and sort of felt like the fourth Oranger out there, so it was quite funny. And then Donna and Alison then sent me a message and asked if I'd like to do the Speedcar title as well, which, yeah, I was more than happy to do, and it was really good. Just, again, just an opportunity to be involved with it and get to speak to the guys out there, and knowing the guys, most of them personally, you sort of have a little bit more insight, and sort of helps me as well because I'm a little bit more relaxed talking to the guys too. So yeah, it's good. Hopefully it relates and people in the crowd get a little bit more out of it as well.
I enjoyed it, mate. I was there and doing some filming, and yeah, I reckon it was great. Yeah, you done a great job, I reckon. Yeah. Alison Dwyer, what's she like to work with and race for, mate?
I'll be honest to say, I don't know if there'd be a Speedcar division, not only in South Australia, but just about nationally, without Alison and Donna and, you know, the whole team there. It's crazy the amount of work they actually do. And obviously people see the things they do on a race night and stuff like that, you know, just not your grid draws and stuff, but right down to fundraising for the club right throughout the year, and just the amount of work's just ridiculous how much they do. And the passion that Alison has is something I haven't seen before from just about anybody in any division. She's, I don't know if obsessed even covers it, but yeah, she's really cool. And of course, Harry tries to do his little bit here and there as well. He gets dragged along as much as anything. But yeah, to get the opportunity to drive them was, you know, something that you always want to have a go in a Speedcar. I don't think there's anybody in the pits who wouldn't want to have a go. So yeah, to get that message to say, you know, do you want to have a drive at, you know, practice night, and jumped at it with both feet and went from there and just sort of eased my way into it a little bit. And yeah, we had a pretty good first season. We, you know, got a couple of podiums, and yeah, we managed to pick up a couple of wins in Adelaide and Murray Bridge since then. So nothing super exciting, but you know, we sort of worked our way into the division, and yeah, it was just getting laps and building from there.
And living the dream.
Yeah,
definitely so. So what? Are they similar divisions, like, or similar cars? I mean, to drive a wingless and a Speedcar, or are they completely different?
They are probably similar compared to a lot of divisions. So to come from a wing car into a Speedcar, it's completely different. But if you're looking to go from one class into a Speedcar, I think wingless is probably your best division to move in from, purely because you don't learn the bad habits you do with a sprint car. So obviously turning in with the sprint car, you do it a lot later. You get a massive wing there. That, you know, I look at driving a sprint car as basically driving a really tight wingless. The amount that you actually use that wing to turn, whereas with a wingless, you sort of get used to the way the car moves around. You're not relying on that wing as much. I think the biggest thing that I found going from the wingless into the Speedcar is the amount you move around. You can actually move the car on the throttle a lot more with the wingless, with the Speedcar on.
Yep.
So you can sort of get in shallow, and you can actually get on the gas, and the car sort of stands up and will actually move back for you. You don't have to get out of the gas and turn right. You can actually use the throttle to move around. So, you know, the ability to change lines and not have to overcommit to a line like you do with a wingless. So you have to really build momentum and really commit to a move, maybe sometimes even before it's there, and hope it eventuates with a wingless. Whereas a Speedcar, you can actually, you know, drive the thing, change lines, move, and, you know, actually use the power of the car to do what it's supposed to do.
Yep. And speaking of wingless sprints, like, you've had some big names drive your car. Alex Bright from America. That must have been an eye-opener having him drive your car.
Yeah. Well, you know, Andy Hibbert and Daniel Hardigan, who won a national title as well. But we've just come back from the Speedcar title at Warrnambool in 2020. And Alex had run second to Carlton Macedo then, and wasn't far off of actually taking that in another couple of laps. That would have been very, very interesting. And we had the $10,000 win race for the wingless coming up the next weekend at Murray Bridge, and I'd sort of talked to Tom Payette about having a drive, and I was actually originally going to have two cars, and then didn't eventuate. And you know, Alex was there driving for the Joneses, and Beck sort of said, Alex, you know, would you like to have a drive in a wingless next weekend? I'm not sure whether it was that Alex wanted to necessarily have a drive in a wingless, or he just wanted to get out of having to drive the truck back to Western Australia across the Nullarbor. But he came and stayed for the week, and we, basically stripped the car and rebuilt it again. And struggled a little bit the first night, and then luckily we came actually out of the B main on the second night and drove through the field. And obviously the rest is history. We picked up a nice little trophy, and Alex made a couple of grand to take back home with him as well.
Yeah, right. And the wingless, do they do 60 laps? I suppose they would round Murray Bridge without having to refuel or anything like that, wouldn't they?
Yeah, so the 60 lapper at Murray Bridge was a fixture for the last 5 years. That was the first one, the 60 for 60 in 2020. And then we didn't have one last year, so the club had originally looked to, and made to go at that stage, had looked to try and build that as sort of a standalone event for the wingless, so basically our classic, and try and entice some of your sprint car drivers or speed car drivers, other divisions to sort of come and have a go to sort of draw some more people in on the hill. For whatever reason, after Alex won it, they decided they were going to change the rules and make their qualification process the same as the Australian title, which pretty much killed that. They then managed to day clash with Victorian titles and quite a few other, just really, really poorly organised, for the next couple of years. And the event sort of lost a little bit of its, glamour. And we didn't even have one last year, so it is back on the calendar again this year. So hopefully we can get some momentum again and start trying to build it back up again, and the club actually supports it. So,
It makes it hard with the rules they've got with these, 500s are the same, they don't make a 500cc engine anymore, or a 600cc, most of them are 650, nowadays that they make, and wingless are heading down the same road, aren't they? The motors must be getting harder and harder to get hold of. Where do you see them heading at any stage, Brett? Do you see them heading into a V8 maybe or something?
I think it's inevitable. There's got to be a new motor. I mean, they're putting band-aids. Had a reasonable say on that sort of opinion, but they've been putting Band-Aid on a motor that essentially should have died probably 3 or 4 years ago. They keep on delaying a decision. They're trying to outsource someone to buy it and basically get parts made, because you just can't get the OEM parts anymore, so you can't get rotating gear. There's a lot of stuff that you just can't buy. So, we know what happens in divisions when you run out of parts and things get harder to get. The price, can double in a season, triple in a season. I mean, the F2s in New Zealand had that problem a few years ago with the bike motors and stuff. So we're getting towards that stage now where we're already seeing wingless motors in excess of 15 grand now. So I mean, you always hear the guys, I can still build one for $500. Yeah, well, no worries, but you show me the $500 motor and a Australian title ain't made. Like, we're just, you got to be realistic with it. And I think it's time that, especially, I think that the crate motor's probably the one they've got to really look at. We don't necessarily need the 410 or something like that. I mean, as much as a lot of us would love that.
Oh, yeah, wouldn't we what?
It's just not going to happen in Australia. So whether we run a crate motor, the 525 with a restrictor in it or something like that, I mean, there's always the argument you can try and run it till everybody changes over and then open up the restrictor or something along those lines, which would be great. But it then also starts to be a case of what's that going to do for some of the other divisions. So sprint cars are probably going to, they'll either benefit really well if they work with it properly, or I think speed cars will be the one that do suffer. Which obviously I don't want to necessarily see that, but when you look at it from a promoter's point of view, to be able to run a crate motor and a wingless 1 week, literally put a wing on it and run it the exact same car, exact same motor, whether you're under a restrictor and take it out for the next week and put a wing on it and run in the LS division, you're going to double your car count basically. There's that many wingless already out there, and you're going to get that top 20-30% of the guys in wingless who'll jump straight away because they've probably got the funds and the finances to actually do it. There's guys that are overspending wingless and have been for years already. So it's not this budget division they're trying to claim that it is. I mean, there's guys who do it on a budget, but you just can't build a division around those bottom end guys. Unfortunately, that's you know, as much as you don't want to lose them, you know, that bottom 20% of the division that they're trying to cater to with a lot of these financial decisions are the guys who probably only run 20% of the shows as well. So you can't just keep on catering to them all the time. You've got to be realistic and cap the top end spending. So.
Yeah. Do you think we have too many divisions in Australia?
Yeah, I mean, national divisions, yes, but there's a lot of local divisions. I mean, you go to Victoria and there's that many sedan classes. I think you change the bell caps and you change division. It's ridiculous over there. So it is quite stupid. But yeah, I think what the move to like bring in the crate motors with the LSs, like the 360s and stuff, is going to be the big thing that's going to help sprint cars, especially in the next few years. We're already seeing a massive, lift in numbers, and a lot of the guys that I grew up with racing wingless are the ones that have made that jump already. And like I said, it's a really good feel in that division at the moment because guys are working together. They want to help each other. Everybody wants to go out. They want to make it easy for each other to race, and unfortunately, it seems to be a little bit of a thing with wingless. I don't know if it's just my view, but there seems to be a lot of people not really helping each other anymore. It seems to be almost as like they're making it harder for people to race and putting silly rules in and just trying to be, rather than helping each other, which, speed cars have still got that thing where we as a division sort of want everybody on track because we don't have huge numbers. So we go out of our way to make it easier and help each other and, the work we do in South Australia to get guys to come and race here with tow money and, it's ridiculous. And, we've seen that over the years with when we went to WA to race, the help those guys gave us to get to Perth and back was, they literally paid for our cars to go across and back. Like, we just can't do it otherwise. And it's good to have that in the division.
Do you think it's because the sport's getting more professional? That's why everyone's doing that now?
Yeah, it is to a point. I mean, things get more expensive as things get more professional, which hurts it at the same time. Promoters are starting to get better and realise they need to look after competitors. It's not just necessarily use this as a pay-to-play, hopefully, scenario. They're actually, Gab's great in Perth. Like, he couldn't do enough for us to get us over there and back. It really helped us. Like I said, I literally, for me as a team owner and driver, like for me to drive to Perth and back and take a car, it's a week off work each way. So there's just no way I can do that. So for me to stick it on a truck and send it over there, and it's the only way to realistically do it. So and we were supposed to go to Tasmania, and there was a similar sort of deal that was supposed to happen there a few years ago that sort of fell over at the last minute. But it would have been really good. It would have been interesting to see what happened over in Tasmania. If, we got those extra half a dozen cars over there, and it would have could have been the next thing that got another 3 or 4 cars on the track and kept you guys running down there.
It's definitely a shame we haven't got them down here no more. But hopefully we can get the car numbers up over the next couple of years again and have another crack at it because they are such a great division, these speed cars. That's for sure. They've opened my eyes up because I grew up around sprint cars. My dad was a mechanic at sprint cars. Used to build them, and I'd really never seen a lot of speed car racing except for what we had down here, and we only had like 3 or 4 drivers that were really competitive on the car. The rest were like just out there having a bit of fun, which is all good and well, but after watching them at Murray Bridge at the Australian title, I just walked away and just went, wow, like to watch them millimetres off the wall, lap after lap after lap is just, and zigging and zagging and nose diving each other and slide jobbing each other was just crazy to watch. Like, there's such a great division.
Yeah, it depends on the track as well. Like, some tracks really sort of work for them. Places like Toowoomba are great when it gets up on the fence, and Perth's the same. It's funny, whenever you go to pretty much any national title, whether it's, speed cars or street stocks or whatever, you normally get pretty good racing because you're always going to have good car counts, and good car counts, inevitably there's going to be someone out on track that's racing. There's going to be a battle pack somewhere that's worth watching. But Murray Bridge has always been a track that's lent itself really well to speed cars just because of the size of it. as much as I like Perth, we do get lost a little bit over there. It's great racing and it's awesome to bang the boards and run around the top of that place, but traditionally speed cars work better on a small track. Like I'd love to do shows at Lang or, I think Simpson this year is going to be unbelievable. The Aussie top there. If we can get 40, 50 car field there, you'll see racing like you've never seen. It really will be special. I think Sydney is another one of those tracks that's probably a touch on the big side for us as well. But like I said, those smaller tracks with good car counts, we can't all have a chili bowl every week, but it'd be nice to have those sort of car counts.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
It's something else. But that second night, even the second weekend here at the Bridge with the Australasian, that A Main is one of the best races you'll see for a long time. And not just the last couple of laps with the finish, but right the way through that racing, it was just unbelievably good slide jobs, and that's all you can ask for, a nice wide racetrack. And speed cars being the division they are, being so racy, you're going to see a lot of guys pass, and you're not having to wait for opportunities. You can make the opportunities and actually pull the trigger and make a slider happen, whereas you're not having to wait for clean air like a wing car. And it just really does make for great racing.
Yeah, it sure does. The only thing that really blew me out when I was in Murray Bridge, the crowds. Like I looked up on the grandstands and around the track on both. Friday night, I'm thinking, not everyone goes Friday night. They'll all come Saturday night. But even Saturday night, the crowd numbers are so down. Like I don't know whether that's because Clay-Per-View does a great telecast now and puts it out on stream, or whether it's just people just don't want to go no more.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think it's one of those things. Speed cars in the division aren't known anymore as a premier class, like to the general public.
Yeah.
Anyone who knows anything about Speedway and has been around for years, or has half an idea, loves it, and they know how good they are. But your general motor punter, if it's not a sprint car, then unfortunately, it's hard to get guys, to just rock up and go and watch. And the price of everything these days, families find it hard, but speed cars have also been smart over the years, like the Australasian. We had the demo derby on as well. So, and I know Parramatta used to always have the 50 lap with the demo derby, and they used to always get great car numbers. And you hope by doing that, eventually some of the people on the hill will see that and go, oh, hang on, these things are all right. We'll come watch them again next time they're on. But it is a slow process. Unfortunately, people have short memories as well, and those big flying billboards with the wings on the top it's still the ones that draw the crowd over everything else.
They're definitely good to watch, sprint cars, and great race. And don't get me wrong, I still love sprint cars, but I think speed cars should have the same sort of backing, because they're just as good. Like same as late models. Late models are great to watch on certain tracks. As you said, certain tracks, speed cars are good. I'd love to see these things on Tulma. Like I can't wait. I reckon that's going to be one of the best tracks in Australia over a bit of time. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be scary. I've seen speed cars at I-55, and it's funny, you don't see them get around the top there very often at I-55. It just seems to be that little bit too big around the top. But hopefully Tulma, we'll probably get tracks there. It got reasonably wide down there for the sprint cars.
Oh, did it what? Like, it was awesome.
We're actually supposed to race there Saturday night with the wingless, and to say that was half the reason I was hoping to get back in the car this year is sort of an understatement. I'm absolutely dying to get out and have a run around that place. So, unfortunately, got caught off early because of the rain, which probably saved me coming home from Sydney a little earlier because I was over there for a wedding on the weekend. But it's definitely on the to-do list, and somehow or other I'll get out there and have a skid.
Yeah, I've got to get over and have a look at it. I reckon it's a great little venue. Like I said, I've seen it on the sprint cars, and they were crazy on there. Same as the Adelaide, the Napa thing they're doing. This is great to see them building a track in the middle of Adelaide. It's got to be good for the state. It's such a big motorsport state, South Australia, isn't it?
Yeah, well, last year down there, I was actually really, really surprised how good the racing was. I thought, it'd be a bit gimmicky, one lane, sort of, flat track around the bottom, but it was actually really, really good racing around there. So, and again, it's the sort of thing where speed cars don't necessarily need the big, wide open track, so it might still be a little bit point and shoot, but we're a small enough car that we can make things happen still. Like, you'll still end up racing for us. So if they give us anything that's even sort of, a car whipped off the bottom, you're still going to get good racing. So I'll be honest and say I think the crowd's probably going to enjoy the speed car racing more than sprint car.
Let's hope so.
Hopefully they can. The spectator areas there sort of struggled a little bit because it is, they didn't have a lot of grandstand seating, so seeing over the top of the fence down in the speed cars may be the only little bit of a drama. But the wing lists around there last year were even half decent with the racing. There was a few pranks and stuff which weren't really the best to showcase it, but the speed cars will be something else to fill.
So you went to it, Brett?
Yeah, I missed the first night. I had other commitments, but I went down and ended up helping one of the wingless guys out the second night. And like I said, I was blown away by how good the actual racing was. So it was a great event. It was standing room only around the track. It was shoulder to shoulder. Trying to find anywhere that actually had half decent vantage point to look from was, you couldn't, even running back to the pits to make changes on the car every time, you couldn't find the same spot to stand. It was packed and everybody was loving it. And it wasn't just the normal speedway people there. Like, there was a lot of people that were, obviously, knew what was going on and were speedway people, but there was a lot of the regular mug punters that only go because it's part of the ticket, and it's the clips or bail or whatever they want to call it, and they go to that every year. So they're the kind of people we need to showcase it to. Obviously, if that translates to a few people spending an hour to drive down the road to come to shows at Murray Bridge, or a couple of hours to go to Tullamore, or even going home and watching it on pay-per-view next week, like that's what it's all about for us. And, that's the best thing that could be possibly happening to our sport at the moment in South Australia.
Yep. And then Clay-Review and Channel 7, they've played a big part in getting our sport out there a lot more now. Like, Night Thunder from WA and Jared Ash at Clay-Review, they're doing such a great job, and it's good to see the televisation that the sport's actually getting now.
Yeah, the Night Thunder guys in WA, that presentation they do is absolutely next level. That is world class. Like, you watch, the stuff on Flow and things like that, and even that doesn't even compare to the stuff that the quality that the Night Thunder guys are doing. It is really good. I mean, Clay-Per-View's taken to another level. It'd be great to know what sort of fears and how, that sort of stuff that Clay-Per-View actually brings in. Whether that's affecting people going to the tracks or not, and how that sort of translates to, obviously sponsorship relies on people seeing it, so we probably would like to have a little bit more of an insight to give to our sponsors as to how many people are actually watching online, but I think they're a little bit reluctant to tell us in case we can figure out the revenue they're making and then expect us to want to want the revenue, I guess. But it'd be nice to be able to give something tangible to your sponsors to say, there's 20,000 people sitting at home watching it all weekend. There might only be 30,000 at the track, but this is where the numbers are. This is where you're getting your exposure. Pay-per-views taken a long way. I mean, I know they struggle for commentators some nights, but they get desperate. But it's been a great thing for the sport, and hopefully it continues to take it forward and get more people interested.
And tracks aren't going to come on board unless they're making money. They're not going to keep making it go on Clay-Per-View if they're not making money. So something's got to be going good there somewhere. Exactly,
and Clay-Per-View aren't going to keep purchasing trucks and paying a bloke to sit in there and do production, camera crew and stuff like that. There's definitely money being made there somewhere, and as long as it's good for everybody, that's what we need. We're not asking to get all the money from it, or just something that works for everybody, even if it's only the figures. I mean, even if they tell us what the figures are and we can figure out they're making $100,000 a year out of it, or $1 million, who cares? As long as we can use that to help us, we don't necessarily need something out of it ourselves, apart from something that'll help us.
At the end of the day, it's the sponsors are what put you on the track, isn't it? It's a hard thing to do this, like, especially with the price of everything going up.
Yeah, exactly. And it's with Adelaide and obviously now Queensland losing their main metro or their capital city track. There's a lot of people that are struggling to get sponsorship. Like, our sprint car division in South Australia has started to really nosedive in the last 4 or 5 years. Like, we've just started to build again really well when Speedway City shut down. And a lot of those new guys just aren't coming through now. Like, you don't get that little bit extra that may make the difference. You know, it might only be a $5,000 sponsor or a $10,000 sponsor for those sprint car guys, but it's the difference between, you know, them getting out there and having people supporting them. You know,
Yeah.
It's not always necessarily the financial thing. Sometimes it's just having people around you to encourage you to do it as well. Like, it's good to have those people when you get back to the pits and you're awake to them, and you know, they get involved and invested. You know, really make you want to do it.
And there's a lot of businesses out there think, oh no, I can't afford to sponsor a race car team, you know. But people have got to stop and think, if you put $100 into a race team, that's $100 they didn't have 5 minutes ago. You know, and the amount of costs involved now, every little dollar helps with these teams, doesn't it?
It's crazy. Like, you know, you put $100 of fuel in your car every second day these days, and no one thinks twice about it. But you walk up to someone at the track and you buy them a drum of methanol, or, you know, even a couple of tunes of methanol, well, there's $100 there, and, you know, it can make a huge difference. Like, a drum of methanol is a few $100s these days. I mean, I'm a big believer in you should probably race unless you can afford to do it yourself anyway. But those little things, you know, and it'd be great to say, just run up and buy someone a tyre, but, you know, it depends on the vision. You know, you're paying $600 for a tyre these days, it's not a little thing. And every now and again, you'll even just get a fan off the hill and just come and, you know, it's not even just buying shirts and stuff. It all goes towards something and get you down the road. It does make a difference to it.
And it's hard without them, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So you went to Chili Bowl in 2019, Brett. What was that like, mate? And who did we race for over there?
So I raced for a bloke by the name of Michael Coontz. So not I would have much preferred Keith Coontz, but Michael was the person that I sort of raced for. It was an experience. It was definitely on the bucket list, and unfortunately the deal that I was supposed to have changed by the time I got there without my knowledge. The car I was supposed to be driving wasn't the one that I ended up in, which sort of put the deal, you know, a little bit of back foot before we even started. Sort of really good to realise that sort of what was supposed to be it wasn't a top line car, it was supposed to be sort of a decent car. Changed a fair bit, so you sort of have to adjust your expectations a little bit from there. One of those things, just to get out on that joint was something else, and I still remember it's the same as Warrnambool. The first time I drove on a Warrnambool, you just sort of, you know, lollygag and daydream, you know, just to be there was pretty cool. And unfortunately with Chili Bowl, you don't get many laps. You really don't. And, you know, dollars per lap is just ridiculous. So by the time you go and you do your practice the first day, you come back, you have a warm-up, engine start, you do your heat race, then your main on your first night. It all goes by way too quick. I sort of feel like it's a little bit of unfinished business for me. I don't think that I got a really decent crack at it. I mean, it's not that we were terrible. We sort of went forward in our heat race. We got a pretty bad pill draw. We started at the back. We were the second heat out for the night, so the track was really one lane and just one, and one that had gone from being greasy, so it was locked down. Still went forward a couple of spots. Just missed the transfer into a qualifier, so we started off the front of the main. Was leading that and just sort of rolling the bottom, and there was a little bit up the top, and I was sort of just waiting, and one of the guys decided to try that. Sort of got alongside him, was still a little bit untidy. Got all crossed up and sort of trying to avoid him because I didn't really want to bin and buy someone a brand new car for the piece of junk that I was in. Didn't seem like a smart move, so I sort of ended up turning myself around and trying to avoid him, and took us out for the night and made for a very, very early start to the Saturday night run for us. But yeah, it was good, frustrating, expensive, but definitely an experience that I still have hopes that eventually I'll be able to find some money and find a deal. Of sort of been offered a little bit of a drive to go back again this year, but whether I can put something together to actually do it's another story. But yeah, definitely something that still feels like unfinished business for me at the moment.
Yep, yep. And do the Americans, do they rate Australian drivers over there, or do they just think we're easy pushovers?
I think guys like Caden going over there and racing sort of has definitely opened a few eyes. Like Caden did really well, even Michael Stewart. I mean, Luke Story last year at Chili Bowl surprised the hell out of me. He did a really, really good job. I'm hoping he can sort of replicate that again this year when he goes back. I hope it wasn't one of those things where he's just really good runs like last season. But yeah, I mean, the fact that Michael was in a car for Zach Delorme, it shows that they've got some respect for us. They've raced against us enough. I mean, Caden going and racing New Zealand for the teams that he has over there and racing for Keith and guys like that when he's gone to America now, it's definitely opened their eyes. Obviously Mark Pickens has gone over and raced there now. So they're well and truly aware of how good some of the drivers down this end of the world are. So it's still, midgets over there are still one of those feeder classes or learner classes for the rich kids who want to go to NASCAR a little bit though. So you're always going to have that. You have the sort of veterans that have been around for a long time, know what they're doing, and then there's this big step down in, I won't say quality, but experience to these younger rich kids that are looking as a stepping stone.
Yep. And they are just that too, some of them. I remember when Marcus Kelly went over there, he said he got whooped by a 12-year-old kid, and he was Australian Formula 500 champion at the time. Went over, got out of the car and thought he'd done a good job, and a 12-year-old kid jumped out of the other car that had just handed him his butt. He blew out on that.
One of the other things that I really enjoyed about the Chili Bowl especially is the rules side of it. So there's a lot of stuff that your average race fan or even your average competitor, you'll spend a couple of days walking around, you don't notice half the little things. It's a bit of the smoke and mirrors deal where there's a lot of stuff that people are trying on cars and doing on cars that you got no idea of what. Andrew Laser was driving, he was 14, and I still remember sitting in the crowd, like in the stands watching when they were doing their practice day, like their practice runs. And there was guys sitting next to us with their phones, and they're tuning things on their phones on his car as he's on track.
Yeah, right.
So they have actuators set up on shocks and stuff like that, and they're actually dialing shocks from him sitting in the stands.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Stuff like that you don't realise is going on until you someone will either point it out to you or you sit back and just watch what's going on alongside you instead of what's in front of you. So, there's some pretty cool things going on with birds cages and just weight distribution and just there's a lot of tricks that you sort of see and you can't really say too much because the people who are doing it obviously want to keep it that way. But it's a cool event because of that. But it's sort of an R&D thing for some of the teams, and whether any of those things ever get used in the USAC shows or anything later on in the year, you just never know. But there's definitely a few things that have probably been used that weren't supposed to be that have been tried out at Chili Bowl too.
Yeah, right. Do you think that goes on in Australia much?
In some divisions, there's definitely guys. I know, Wingless being one of those budget classes with a lot of competitors, it's a weight of numbers. The more people you have, it's inevitably you're always going to have someone who's going to try something to push the boundaries with legality. Not so much in the Speedcar division, I don't think. We've got anything that's really too shady happening. You only have to talk about sprint cars with traction control, you mentioned that sort of stuff, and there's always those sort of talks as well. So with dollars and competitiveness, there's always those people who want to try and find that edge. So inevitably it's going to happen. So it doesn't matter what sport you play, there's always someone trying to do something that's
there definitely is,
trying to level the field for them.
Because
they may not have the ability or the talent to actually do it in their own, on their own accord. So
unfortunately, there is people out there like that. Unfortunately.
Yeah, and it's been happening since Jesus played fullback for Jerusalem.
Yeah, my word.
It's always going to be one, I think.
It'll never stop either, will it? I don't think.
I've loved some of the old stories you hear about the NASCAR guys and some of the tricks they used to use, and some of even World Rally guys. Like some of the stories you hear about the tricks and stuff they used to do. Like it's just yeah, it's motorsport. It's one of those things. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
The old story, unfortunately, there's still a lot of people out there who subscribe to the theory it isn't cheating until you get caught. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Unfortunately, it goes on, but anyway, it does happen.
yeah, for sure.
Wife and kids, mate, how do they go with your busy lifestyle as a race car driver and commentator and everything else? Do they go to the track with you much, or are they more a stay-home family?
These days they don't come at all. So yeah, it's probably been a bit sketchy the last couple of years. It is a selfish sport, unfortunately. I think families probably are one of the big things we should be looking at helping with, especially in Australia.
Yep.
Perth do a great job allowing people to be in the pits. Swindler's just started letting people in the pits with kids. You know, they wear the high vis on the kids and stuff like that, and it's definitely an area that Speedway Australia and the promoters that we've got really need to wake up and get with the times. I know we're all scared and we walk on eggshells with insurance and stuff like that, but
that is the biggest killer.
If they don't do something about it, you're just going to lose a lot of people. I mean, families are time poor enough at the moment. Like, it's, you know, we're all busy working, and the way life is these days, we're all busy. And when you have an opportunity to make it more of a family sport, I mean, no one wants to go to the track at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and make your family go sit in the sun on the hill on a 40-degree day.
No.
They can be down in the pits with the SD and, you know, sit in the truck and, you know, some of us got aircon and stuff like that. I mean, you've only got to look at what happens. I mean, Sean Dyson's just basically walked away from Speedway because they wouldn't let his kids in the pits. And, you know, if that doesn't get people's attention, I don't know what will. Like, it's got to happen sooner or later. Like, Sydney has the perfect opportunity to do it there. They've got everything there. All they have to do is set up a hot zone and, you know, don't have cars under power in the pits, and there's no real reason, you know. And it's not hard to set up your hot zones and make it actually happen so we don't have cars in the pits. So why not allow families into the pits? I mean, you've always got to be responsible for what you're doing, and no one ever wants to see something bad happen, especially to a kid in the pits. But at the same time, I think we're hurting our sport a lot by not doing something and being proactive and, you know, making it into a family sport again.
Yeah. I think there's more injuries actually watching Speedway than what there is in the pits nowadays. You get a lot of people I see a lot of people down Tassie and on the mainland with cuts on their heads and that, where a bit of rock or something just flew off the track and whacked them in the head. So
yeah, I think there was a bike went into the crowd. I think it was England on the side, actually, on the speedways over there, so it wasn't ideal. But yeah, we've definitely had a few injuries, and, you know, there was a couple in Brisbane, Archfield, and that got, to be sure, that got shut down, and you do see it quite a bit, unfortunately, and, you know, it's part of the game we play. I just still think Speedways, part of the allure back in the day was the danger of the sport. I mean, whether you like it or not, you know, people used to go to the Coliseum to watch the Lions eat people. People have that mundane sort of, you know, we all slow down when we go past a car crash, whether you know, that morbid sort of fascination, whether you want to did it or not. You know, it sucks and nobody ever wants to see it, but you always remember the big crashes, or, you know, people. I used to always hear about, you know, I was there the night when so-and-so got killed at Rolling Park and stuff like that, and it's something we never want to see. You don't want to, you know, have that, but it is part of our sport, and the reason that it used to be what it is. Like, there were gladiators out there, and, you know, we had personalities, and a lot of that has sort of gone away a little bit. The drivers are, you know, it's like the AFL drivers and stuff like that. They're really boring. No one wants to listen to them talk because it's the same answers all the time. And that's one thing that I sort of try to remember at the title, like, because I sort of know a few of the guys and can ask them questions about, you know, family or stuff that's happening away from the track. It's no one wants to listen to the same 3 questions get asked to every single driver every time they're on the microphone, because it is just boring as batshit. No one wants to hear it. So we try and keep it a little bit more entertaining and, yeah, bring some personality back into the drivers.
Crashes sell too. Like, you know, I do crash videos down here in Tassie Motorsport and wherever I go, and I'll put racing footage up. You know, that gets good viewing, but you put some crashes up, mate, you'll get thousands of views. Like, you know, it's people want to see crashes, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, I think the other thing is the personality thing has really dropped off a little bit. I mean, I know Wade sort of was good with it with some of the series guys, a little bit of that, but back in the day at Rolly Park, like, they used to have a hero on the hill and they used to play up to the crowd. They used to have the pie fights and stuff like that. And it's, you know, I remember Wade talking to us a few years ago and he said, you know, anything that's got theatre will bring attention. But if you want to be the bad guy, you've got to be prepared to wear the black cape all the time and cop what comes with it. Like, there's a reason that someone like Gary Brazier or Kyle Busch or guys like that, they're hated by people. But they will outsell anybody else in the pits when it comes to merchandise tenfold. They will probably outsell nearly everybody combined in the pits. They're willing to do that. Like, you know, even, like I said, mainstream when it comes to the footy show, and, you know, Sam Newman. He played a character. Like, Sam is one of the most genuine, nicest people. People that know him. But he played a character, and if we had a little bit more of that, and people in the sport who are willing to play that sort of joker or character and be rude or, you know, that sort of thing, it may be what we need to bring that theatre back into a lot of the divisions. And, you know, we can't all be the boring, like, thank the sponsors and the same, you know, thing every time we get spoken to. It just doesn't work anymore.
And I'd like to thank the sponsors. Well, what are your sponsors? You know, that annoys me. Like, when I see a driver get a trophy, and I'd like to thank my sponsors, but that's all he says. He doesn't, you know, and that hurts when you're a sponsor up on the side of the bank and you're there to watch your car and you don't even get a mention. People walk away. Well, why am I doing this? You know, like So just the simple things like that, and knowing your sponsors is such.
You get a few of the newer kids who are learning these days. You don't just thank the sponsors and mention their company. Actually, mention the people by name as well. Like, that's the thing. Everyone, I don't want to say they're vain, but everyone loves to hear their name called out on the PA, or, you know, that little bit to, you know, just that little bit of an extra pat on the back. You know, like, it's just the small things like that that can make a huge difference when it comes to getting someone to throw some money to put on your race cap. It's simple. It makes a difference to people.
Now, I'm not discriminating against any of our modern day drivers. We've got some great drivers around the world, and in Australia and in New Zealand and America. But do you think the drivers are a bit more gentleman-like these days than what they were back in, say, the 80s and the 90s?
We probably don't have a lot of guys who are willing to accept the rap of being sort of a dirty driver. We've definitely got guys out there who, if they're willing to play that role, they have enough incidents or have had the finger pointed at them enough times that they could definitely be cast in that sort of a role. Again, I could mention a few names and people would go, yep, that's definitely, but you don't want to do that.
No.
So, they have to be prepared to cop that and play to it. And like I said, you've got to be prepared to wear that black cape every time you get on the road. Like, you know, I'm happy to be a clown and have people laugh or you or whatever. That doesn't worry me, but to be known as that dirty driver, like, you know, Sammy Swindell used to get booed every time he went to. It's you've got to have a really, really thick skin and be prepared to do that all the time. And it's just something that a lot of the precious egos these days, and you've got to have the right sort of sponsors behind you to do it as well. A lot of sponsors don't want to be associated with that sort of thing. They can be a little bit funny. You know, probably one good thing. I've always sort of raced up my own accord without having to rely on sponsorship. So, you know, I probably could have done that, but again, I'm not really someone who wants to get booed. I've got enough people who don't like me already without having to play to it. So,
And the Australian title last year, a bit of controversy there. Finished, what was it, 11 laps earlier than because of time limits. Like, a lot of people kicked out. Facebook went crazy. There was a lot of keyboard warriors out there. Do you think they have a point, or it is what it is?
Yeah, I can see that point. I mean, there was a lot of guys who, I don't know what they wanted out of it. They pointed out that it's not the rule book and this is what has to happen and they want to avoid it, or I don't know whether they were looking to get a rerun because maybe they didn't have a good run, or
Yeah,
whether
right.
they were, you know. But to say that it should have been voided, how does that possibly help anyone? I mean, I get that it wasn't to the rule book,
Yeah.
and it didn't constitute the technical, you know, all that sort of thing, but to say it shouldn't be awarded, how does that possibly help anyone?
It doesn't help anyone. No.
It doesn't make sense for anybody to do that. So, yeah, it was a bit of a. Unfortunately, the two Australian titles at Murray Bridge were the two Premier Divisions last year, but it was definitely a bit of controversy, and yeah, it wasn't good for the locals here, but or anyone really. But
I don't think the top three was going to change anyway. Like Caden Brown was gone, and it was only Nick and I can't think of his name. Sorry. Yeah, I can't. I can't think of his name. It was in second, the New Zealander.
Brad.
Someone will message me.
Yeah, someone will. Yeah.
But yeah, you know, I think the top three were pretty much set anyway. I don't think anyone was going to get near them.
No, I mean, you never know. I mean, a restart, you can get a bobble or someone gets a really good start and throws a slider, but realistically, in open air, I think Caden was, was gone. I think it was pretty well settled where, the finish the weekend after was just, unbelievably good. But, yeah, you don't want to see any of that sort of stuff get sort of decided and then have people questioning it and throwing those sort of things around. And just takes the shine off of what was still a good event. So it was good that it all sort of got forgotten a little bit by the next weekend. And then the racing the next weekend sort of spoke for itself as to how good it was. So.
Oh, I love the Speedcars. Such a family environment, great people. You know, I met a lot of people over there I'd never met before. You know, never been to an event, and they just made us feel so much at home with interviews, and it was just great. Apart from Tom Payette smashing one of my cameras, but I got him to sign the broken cover afterwards, so I've got that in the shed mounted.
I'm sure Rodney will attest to this, but Wood is one of those guys that if you're willing to put him in a car, you know you're a fair chance to be scooping it back into the trailer at the end of the night. He's just one of those guys. He's learned a little bit in the last 3 or 4 years to finally, slow down 10% to be 100% quicker, but he still well and truly has the ability to wind his stuff up pretty quickly.
Oh, yeah.
So.
He can wheel on his night, but then, some other nights just aren't his night,
Yeah, well, like I said, I was supposed to have him in the car, well, the other car when Alex ended up driving here for the 60 lapper, so he's always been someone who's a gun behind, he just seems, I sort of had a little bit of a joke with him, anytime there's an Australian title, he just can't do anything. And it was the same with the Wings. He wadded up pretty much every time he went to an Aussie title. WA title and no drums, he'd smoked about 6 of those things, but just cannot put an Australian title together for some reason. So hopefully that changes and he gets another opportunity soon enough. He's a good enough driver, he'll no doubt end up in something. It's just a matter of what and when. And,
well, there's a car behind you there, Brett. You can chuck him in that one.
Yeah, well, I know Rodney's still got a couple of motors sitting around, so if Rodney wants to send one of those over, there's a set of wheels here we can put in, and you never know. So, I mean, of course I might have to do a few shows just to make sure the motors are right.
Of course you got to, definitely. So, are we going to see the Speedcar this year, or we're not?
At the moment, it's a long shot. It's purely going to be a financial thing for me. I've got a lot of stuff going on at the moment, which realistically I probably have to focus on that more than the Speedcar. I can drive wins for other people at the moment. I've got a few offers on the table. So that's probably what I'm sort of doing at the moment, just to keep in the seat, just to keep laps under the belt. If someone's got a Speedcar out there and they're looking for a driver, I'm still more than happy to jump in, as I'm sure there's a list of 100 people who'll jump in anyone's Speedcar if they're offering, but and the same if someone's got a motor out there, like it'd be great to do some sort of a deal even. But yeah, realistically at the moment, for me to go out and get another motor is just not something that I'm in a position to do at the moment. That can change, obviously, you never know, but I've just got to focus on a few other things for myself at the moment, and just get that side of things squared away and at the moment the car's still sitting there. It's not getting, it's not going to go mouldy or anything silly and need to be thrown out. So, effectively, it's still a brand new 5 lap old car. So,
yeah, righto. So it doesn't have many laps then.
No, I said we literally took it down to Womble and got a couple laps in, and it felt really, really good straight off the bat in the car, which is something, Brett Lacey's sort of done a really good job with these Berettas, and I was really hoping to maybe get someone else out there to bounce ideas off and get a few of these Berettas going around, because they do look like they're capable of competing with some of these other cars that are, out there, and it'd be good to have 3 or 4 drivers who sort of can show what they do, and maybe some of the other guys might go, hang on, well, these things might actually be worth a try as well.
Oh, I think Brett's definitely brought a new level to Speedcar racing in Australia with the chassis, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly right. And Nick's sort of definitely pushing, Caden at the moment, and, whether you think Nick's that good of a driver or not, his results of late have definitely spoken for themselves. Like, he has come a long way in the last 2 or 3 years since getting into that Beretta. Like, it's no coincidence that, it's all come sort of at the same time. Like, the car's got to be a big part of it too.
Yeah, it definitely has to be. And, Michael Conway, he's another one. He hasn't raced him for very long, but he's taken big leaps and bounds in it, so.
Yep, and, like I said, I'd love to see some of these guys who've got a lot of laps in these other cars, like, throw Caden in one for a lap just to see what he thinks. And, even gooder, if Rodney wants to send that motor off, we can try it. So.
Hear that, Rodney? We need a motor.
No hints or anything here, but like I said, it's one of those things I'd love to see a good Australian-built car, just to see what it's like. I mean, get someone with the laps and the experience and talent in one of these things, and it could be that much better than these other cars. We just don't know until it actually gets out there and get some extra people and extra laps to compare it with.
Yep. No, it'd be good to see more on the track. Before we go, Brett, is there anyone you'd like to thank? People, sponsors that help you out along the way. I know you haven't been doing a lot of racing lately, but is there anyone out there you'd like to thank?
Yeah, plenty. I guess I've got us along the line with Speedcar, especially like Alison and Mark from the start. Sort of, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to get in the Speedcar. They do such a massive amount of work for the division, but obviously, just giving people the opportunity to get in, like with Jack in the car at the moment. I mean, they still bring Caleb across, and not just with the team and the cars, but their work with the tyres, and they still look after us with wingless tyres and stuff like that. Their American Race Fuel is unreal. The Speedway shop parts and stuff they give and sell, and the sponsorship right across. Like, I was watching Bathurst on the weekend, and young boys getting around with a massive Speedway shop sticker on the back of his or whatever they call them these days. But Michael Pitch at the moment, sort of up near riding the wingless, and guys like that who helped us over the years. Jumped in Belitho's car, and a few other people's, and laps in any car still helps you out. Brandon Palmer and Dan with the S-Linger, they did a heap of work. Craig Thompson with the motors over the years. It's just all those little guys who do things like you send the motors off to get stuff done. They're picking it up from the depot and driving them across Brisbane for you because it's the other end of the country. Just little things like that help out. And Tim Fisher helped us out a few times, and it's one of those good sports where people remember that, and you repay them. Like, I remember we lent parts to Tim Fisher one year for title at New Gambia that Matty Jackson won. We gave him the brakes and so forth like that, and you remember that, and years later Tim has an opportunity to help you, and it's the old carnival, what goes around. So there's always a lot of guys who do a lot of little things. I mean, I've always had my personal sponsors as well, like Andy Hibbert has done all my sign writing since the moment I got into wingless, and looks after with all that work stuff as well. Like, all those little people that up over the years, you just wouldn't be able to do it as easy as you can. And we've all got those people in our corner, thankfully.
That's it. No, definitely. When are we going to see you out on the track next?
Saturday night at Murray Bridge, hopefully. So he was on to other places again. We'll be driving for Mike Pitcher and one of the wingless there. So trying to hopefully do enough shows in the next few weeks to qualify for the state title. Unfortunately, I think it was March we had the state title in the wingless, and the next one's in November. So there's not a lot of shows this year to get our 3 shows in. So we're going to try and push. Obviously lost Saturday night at Watertown or Palmer, so hopefully we can get that done and just get some more laps, because I'd really like to run at Mildura. It's one of those tracks I've got a few wins at over the years, and I really like that track, especially with what they've done in the last couple of years. And the racing that we had at the wingless title there last year was phenomenal. That preliminary night to run 5A mains and be the racing that we had for the wingless was just exceptional. Pluggy did a great job with that track. Like it took run with a few laps to go in the last main, but it's one of the best races you'll see in any division. Like I said earlier, it's one of those things with Australian titles. When you get all the good guys together, you're going to get great racing. That's one of those tracks that'll bring it out in people as well. So,
and they've done some
hopefully we can do that and get some laps and keep our bum in a seat and keep those laps ticking over, and other opportunities might spring back up again, and we can jump in one of these little noisy things and
let's hope so, mate.
Get going around again.
Let's hope so. So like I said, anyone got a spare motor, give Brett a ring. He wants a motor. He wants to get this thing back out on the track.
Exactly right. So we never know. There's even a whisper there could be a Honda getting put together, but whether that happens or not, we'll see. And there's a guy here who's talked about it, and it's been talked about for a few years, but if it eventuates, it may happen this year. We never know. So
Michael Conway seems to be operating his pretty good. So
exactly. And the lad who's doing it, hopefully, I don't know whether obviously it's a bit of a financial thing for him as well, but I know he's just changed roles at work, so hopefully his new place that he's doing things for gives him a bit more time to maybe work on some fun stuff for us instead. So,
awesome. Sounds like good fun, mate. Good fun.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us tonight, Brett. We really appreciate it. We hope the season goes well for you, and we might catch up with you later on in the year and just see how things are going, and hopefully you've got another motor to stick in that thing and we can see you out on the track racing Speedcars again.
Yeah, hopefully that'll be awesome. Thank you for having me, and nothing else, I'll probably see you kick around down maybe at Simpson for the title, or even back here for the Australasian this year. So we'll see how we go. I'm really looking forward to NAPRA as well in a couple of weeks' time. It'd be good if you could get over for that and have a look. It'd be awesome,
nice. It'd be nice. We'll just have to see what the calendar works out. I've still got to get the Claver View calendar yet. Once I get that, I can work out a few mainland trips. So,
exactly. But that's definitely one. While we've got the opportunity, it's definitely one that people should put on their to-do list. So,
I'm definitely going to Simpson, though. Definitely going to Simpson. I'm not missing that. No, definitely not.
Well, hopefully I'm on YouTube with the steering wheel instead of a microphone, but you never know. So we'll see what happens.
Fingers crossed, mate.
Exactly.
Thanks, Brett.
No worries. All right. Thanks
everyone for joining us, and I don't know who we've got lined up next week, but we'll catch up with someone, and have a good night, everyone. Thanks for joining us.